to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
Welcome, Forgers, to episode 19 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. After some audio issues, this is your happy host, Jeff Reynolds. And if there was a podcasting rank higher than Grandmaster Podcaster, the Heroes Forge co-host would place there. Let's give it up for the Heroes Forge co-host, Kristen Ashton.
Yeah! Thank you, Jeff, for that wonderful introduction. I want to welcome everybody here. Welcome.
Like I said before, sometimes I really just think I get inspired by the happenings in the video game world that are really going on, and it makes me just want to intro you as the just Grandmaster Podcasting co-host. It's just great.
Well, I appreciate the ego boost, most certainly. I think in spirit and in my dreams, I'm higher than Grandmaster.
I'm not even sure what would be higher than Grandmaster, but yeah, we'll definitely go with that. And I will never be at a place like Grandmaster, so I won't even know. There's tons of stuff to talk about in the Heroes of the Storm world and beyond. But first, we want to start this week, and we really want to mention a listener that sent us in some ideas. His name is Kale, and there's some great ideas that are coming in from the community, and like we talked about at the beginning of the show, we want this to be a community driven podcast that's driven by you guys, the listeners. So Kale sent us in an email going over some ideas for our build of Anduin from last week, taking some of the ideas from Kristen's build and some from mine and merging them together with some of their own ideas, and it was really cool. So one of the abilities we want to call out that was just so cool, someone called Psychotic Scream. And Kristen, we always talk about how this game needs a fear in it, and I think this would be an awesome way to do it.
I agree, and I think I dream of fears. And this one, we're talking about an instant AoE fear for what, 0.5 to 1.5 seconds. We've got times in this one.
Yeah, it's very cool, and like we always talk about, fear is just, it's embedded in these other games in the Blizzard universe. I mean, we have it in Diablo, we have it in World of Warcraft, those kind of ideas. It has to make its way to the Nexus, right?
It does, and especially that purplish image. It just sticks with the mind. That what is like a jittering, laughing skull above your head when you run away.
Right, that's terrifying, right?
It is. It's stuff of what nightmares are made of.
Yeah, it's great. And I think who better to do it than a Shadow Priest. And Kale, you hit the nail on the head, man. This is really great idea. And thank you for sending it in to us. It just inspires us to do more with the show, and so we want to hear from everybody. If you have an idea out there that you want to send to Heroes Forge, send it to us. If it's about a character we've already done before, if it's someone that you'd like to see in the Nexus, shoot it our way. And don't forget about our feature Forger Spotlight, which is once a month we take a build from the community and we play with it a little bit on the show. So if you have ideas, make sure you send it to our email address, which is contactheroesforge@gmail.com, and you can also check out our contact tab on our website, heroesforge.club. Oh, and speaking of other ways that you can get in touch with the show, I mean, it is so awesome that we can finally announce that we're now available on Stitcher and Google Play.
Yes, and which is wonderful because we were talking earlier about how this really kind of expands the stage. So instead of just one mega iTunes ownership of all podcasts everywhere, we now have these wonderful little ones starting to pop up, and most notably Google being the most recent.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And now all of our Android friends can listen into the show too. If you don't have iTunes, you don't need it. So we're on Stitcher and Google Play and most of the favorite podcasting apps out there. If you have an app that we're not on, let us know and we'll do our best to get on there. We want to make sure that everybody has access to the show, and this is the first steps getting to there. And you can always listen to the show on our website, and over on our website I'm also going to post our RSS feed so that if you have your own favorite app that takes an RSS feed, you can get it from there. That way you can listen into the show too. So tons of ways to listen, and also check out our YouTube channel as well. Tons of Heroes of the Storm news this week, and we're not a news podcast, but I feel like we need to talk about the two new heroes that are coming to the Nexus, Chromie and Medivh.
how can we not talk about this? I mean, it was an explosion of information that Blizzard themselves were basically like, news people, come and visit us at a secret underground lair meeting. And be sure you kind of hint to the public that big stuff is coming. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, and that was just right down the street from my house. And the whole time I was just sitting here and didn't even know all of this was going on. But oh, I can tell you, out of those two heroes, Chromie and Medivh, which are pretty cool, and the way that they did Chromie incorporating the dragon into the build and everything was neat. I know a lot of people still want to see a full-fledged dragon in the game, but I think I'm choosing Team Medivh on this. Just the way he's going to change the way that the game is played, for better or for worse in some leagues, I'm sure. But what do you think, Kristen? Who are you down most for?
Well, my soul belongs to Chromie because she's a short, tiny little girl who can turn into a big, crazy beast and wreak havoc on all who dare to go before her.
Yes.
And that would be my battle cry. I'm sure Chromie's will be a bit different.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, just some awesome abilities over there. I'm so stoked. I want them now, but I always do, and I'm so happy that the team at Blizzard is supporting this game so strongly. We have had constant rollouts of characters. That's what keeps it alive. That's what keeps making them money, and that's what keeps making us happy, right?
it is. And Medivh's going to be cool, too. I will say I am excited for Medivh's bird form, because then you can go spying on everybody. And I think this ability to have so much sight, right from the get-go?
Right.
How are you even going to counter that?
I don't know. I don't know the full specs of all of the builds yet. I don't know if you can be stunned out of that flight or not. I know you can't be targeted, so maybe you can't be stunned out of it. But the recon aspect, I mean, Zagara's creep is no longer one of the best ways. Well, it still will be very good, but the ability to just fly and recon a boss and not get hit and all that stuff, I mean, it's endless, right?
It is. And I mean, imagine if in bird form you're given little bombs to drop to interrupt whatever the enemy team is doing. I mean, I would play Medivh if you were a bird and you had little acorn bombs that you drop. They don't do much damage, but they're annoying.
Well, yeah, you'd be able to interrupt things. I'm not sure if that's the case, but that would be really, really neat if it was. Oh, speaking of changes coming to the game, the whole new ranking system for Hero League, it is... I think it will be worth the wait, even though the wait has been crazy long for this, you know, and on Into the Nexus, another Amove TV show over there, they talk about the news of the game, and they go really in depth with it and all of that. But on a surface level, on my opinion, I'm just really excited that they're changing something that can be frustrating for the average gamer.
Certainly. And we've heard, too, that with the MMRs, they're going to go after a much looser definition of what your MMR is compared to everyone else. So hopefully that'll kind of get rid of that quote-unquote MMR hell that so many people suffer from. But I think the funniest part that I've had a good laugh at is the silenced player restriction. And that won't reset when this new one comes through. If you're silenced, you stay silenced.
Yeah, that's going to hurt a lot. A whole bunch of new accounts are going to get created, I'm sure.
That's a good point. You can't really stop new account creation, can you?
No, but Blizzard can take your money twice.
That's true. That's true. If you need to buy all of your heroes. And of course, then you'd have to do the 10 placement game matches. And let me know, thank them so much for the 10 games and not 20.
Oh, I know. That took forever, right? I just need to get with the best players I know to rank as high as I can. I am a little bummed out about the reward system and how, you know, I am stuck in that MMR hell area. So I won't be getting the coolest rewards, but I still think that they're doing this all right, and I can't wait for it to push through. And, you know, all these new heroes are coming out, and the DreamHack tournament this weekend. I watched the entire thing from almost start to finish, which I'm semi-proud of, but
well, you should be. And please tell the wonderful audience what you were awarded for watching so much.
I'm sure some of you know this, but I didn't know that I had watched so much Twitch on my Xbox that it awarded me with an achievement, something about like in it for the long haul, where you watch 8 hours straight of the same streamer, which I had never done before. So when that popped up, I thought maybe I should turn this off, but I didn't, because it was almost the finals, which were a mess. I'm a huge Cloud9 fan, so the finals hit me a little hard, but I'll tell you what, Naventic deserved to win that last couple battles there in the finals. They just drafted better, I believe, and they took the trophy.
They did, but it made me wonder, because I'm sure Cloud9 was exhausted because they got, a 20, 30-minute break between their last qualifying set of matches. So that was 2 full games that they really did have to try hard to win. And then a best of 5 in the finals. And you were saying DreamHack was 3 days. So if that's the case, why would they not give the 2 qualifying endgame teams at least a full night's rest to come back so that they're both at their peak?
Yeah, I wonder if they just have so much scheduled there that they just can't spare the stage and they just give it to Heroes for 1 day. I'm not sure. I know that they did that with Hearthstone, I believe. They split it up into different days. So that's true. I didn't think of that until you just said it. That is very true, where if they had rest and if they had time to, okay, we're playing Naventic tomorrow, how can we counter what they're going to do or what they do best? Kind of like they had time to counter Cloud9 because they didn't play in the match before. Maybe the results would have been different. Who knows? I'm happy that they have a bunch of teams out there that are, competing at this level where there's not just one that steamrolls everybody,
Correct. And I also enjoyed, too, the fact that there was a first or second ban Leeeeeeeeeee at some point, and then the amount of times Rexxar was being chosen. So Kyle and I were joking that maybe these pros who released the tier lists are doing it to troll everybody else. Yeah, because Rexxar is usually not top tier. Leeeeeeeee, I don't think is ever top tier, but here goes banned out in a professional match.
Yeah. And then when they played Rexxar, it's like they had practiced it. I mean, it was just great. A ton of great stuff. Catch the VODs. I know that they're up somewhere. You can check them out, and they're just stellar. The games are very good. Some odd hero picks like Kristen just talked about. Some really cool stuff. There's tons of games and stuff out there to play. Let's talk about HeroesForge, because that's why we're here tonight. If this is your first time listening to the show, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. What we do is we take a character from the Blizzard universe. We're going to pull it into the show and imagine what it would look like if it was part of Heroes of the Storm. Like we talked about earlier, they're developing tons of characters for this game, and it takes a ton of work. So they have a ton on the back burner. So we like to predict or come up with an idea of what a certain character would look like. So without further ado, let's forge.
Let's forge.
All right, Kristen, the time has come. Why don't you tell everybody who we are forging this week?
Well, Jeff, it was your choice this week, and you gave us Leeroy Jenkins.
That was perfect. That sounded so good.
I've been practicing this one all week.
That was very good. Yes, it is Leeroy Jenkins from WoW pop culture fame. This character actually exists inside of World of Warcraft. It didn't start out that way. It started... Well, Kristen, why don't you tell everybody a little bit of backstory on Leeroy and his place in the Blizzard universe?
I would be happy to. The man, the myth, the legend. Some say he came to save WoW. Others say he came to destroy it. While little can be proven, what is known still resonates throughout the Blizzard community through this very day. It began as a raid like any other. Ready to skip the rookery entirely, it was stated that Leeroy still needed that one special drop, shoulders. While sitting AFK, the rest of Leeroy's team gathered around their leader, number crunching and otherwise dreading the incoming onslaught. Then, the tale began to unfold. With the battle cry of Leeroy Jenkins, Leeroy took off into the room, grabbing every spawn along the way. The team ran in, trying desperately to salvage the botched charge, only to be wiped with no soulstone. When asked to answer for his crimes, Leeroy famously responded, "At least I have chicken."
And he did have chicken. This is kind of an unorthodox pick for the show, but I really think that this played a huge part in, the pop culture scene of World of Warcraft when the whole thing went down. I've read a whole bunch of stuff about Leeroy Jenkins. He's been on tons of shows. The saying is made it into a Hearthstone card. He was on the Daily Show, all of this stuff. It's become such a huge part of the World of Warcraft universe, and to where the point they even made a tune for him in Cataclysm, I believe, where you can go through and actually help him finish the raid and get his shoulders and go through it. And it's really cool, and it's been requested on a bunch of Heroes of the Storm forums where people are like, we want Leeroy in the game because they've got wacky, the Lost Vikings and wacky characters like, Abathur or Cho'Gall. Why not Leeroy, right?
Exactly. And I think the issue there is the question of how do you make a troll hero, but make it so that he control both teams, not just the enemy team.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's tough. It's tough and fun to do. So let's start it. Let's start the forging. So the first thing that we always talk about, Kristen builds a build, I build a build, and we start with the role classification for the character if it was to be in Heroes of the Storm. And I went Leeroy would be a specialist.
A specialist? I went with specialist as well. But what is this I see on your sheet here? Are you introducing a new role?
I'm thinking that, we have characters in the game right now that are really good at taking merc camps, but that is not their specialty. So the way I built Leeroy is kind of like that jungler feel, where you really are going in there to take merc camps, and that is your goal. And I know that there's been some feedback in the Heroes community that the reason that doesn't exist is because team fights are so important in this game, where you go in there and if you have a character that's just good at taking merc camps, they go into a team fight and they just get destroyed. So it's a challenge for me to kind of come up with this, but I think because we have characters like Gazlo now, we have characters like even some of the other specialists like Asmodan and Sylvanas, of course, can take these merc camps easily, but they also stand out in team fights. So merc camps was my focus for Leeroy, and you'll see that in my build. What about you, Kristen? So you're going just specialist with just crazy wacky abilities, or did you have a kind of a focus?
My focus, I wanted to create a special role called Troll, but I feel this is so unique to this entity, this legend amongst us, that I couldn't very well create one role just for him. So I went with specialist, and you'll see why as we get into it.
Very cool. Let's get into it. Let's talk about traits. That's the next thing we talk about on this character. I'll start with my trait. My trait is called Let's Do This. Leeroy's trait shows just how battle-thirsty he can be. Incredibly eager to rush into battle, stopping for nothing, not even to acquire a battle plan. At the beginning of the battle, Leeroy is not held back by the gates of the battle before the battle begins. He instead can rush forward and gain position on the enemy team before the battle even starts. Whether this is preparing for a merc camp or setting up for a gank, Leeroy is ready to do this. This can be talented into later in the game to allow him to even surpass the enemy's force gates as well.
Wait, so later on he'd be able to just run straight into an enemy wall?
He would just Leeroy Jenkins!
Oh my goodness. Okay, now I have to ask, as we go on later, what about tower fire?
Oh, he's going to take it. He's going to take the tower fire. I'm just picturing
probably
like
the best answer you could get. He can take it.
Yeah, he's going to take it. But my thought is, what if the towers are out of ammo? What if he can see that? What if you're, a high skill cap enough player to notice, which is, not that super high, but to notice that the towers are out of ammo and you're trying to chase somebody down and they run past the force wall. Well, that's not going to stop Leeroy. He's going to run straight through that and try to get the kill.
That's brilliant, because how many times has somebody been able to get to safety behind that stupid wall and they've got a sliver of health left?
It's killer,
Nova.
right? Yeah, and it's not super different than, a Zeratul being able to blink in or blink out of the... You don't really ever get back out if you blink in. At least in my league, they don't. But what were you thinking for Leeroy's trait?
I was thinking something called "Gosh darn it, Leeroy," and that when Leeroy dies, his entire team dies too. So here we have the first troll on your own team.
Okay.
So they better keep you alive.
They better keep you alive because they're all going down. Oh, the first thing I picture is all of the enemy team just blowing up. And then someone would probably say, "Gosh darn it, Leeroy," in so many words.
Typing across the what is it, that voice chat that Blizzard has now? Just
Oh yeah. Crazy. So it's got to weigh itself out in other troll ways, right?
exactly, which we'll discuss later. He's an equal opportunity troll.
Great. I love those kind of tools. Let's move straight into mounting ability, or how this hero would mount. Some heroes ride horses in the game. Some run faster when they mount. So, Kristen, what were you thinking Leeroy's mounting ability would be?
I'm thinking he wouldn't have a mount, but he would permanently run at mounted speed.
Ooh, I like that.
So he would only have two speeds, stopped and running.
It's very Leeroy of you. I really like that. I think that's really cool and different than what we have in the game now. And he'd be able to get away, which is important with this trait because everybody's going to blow up if he dies. So,
exactly.
I like that. I went along the same kind of route. I said that he wouldn't be able to mount, but when he chose to mount up, he would run into battle in like a true Leeroy fashion on foot. He would begin to sprint forward and he would just move faster, and he'd have like a cloud of dust following him as he was mounted. And I figured he could get unmounted and all that kind of stuff, but same kind of idea, right?
It is, and I love it because Leeroy, I think, became such a beloved figure in the community because there's kind of a story there. He's not afraid of anything. He runs headfirst into battle. He doesn't care. He's not scared of anything. He's going to take on those dragons and get those shoulder pads. His team better keep him alive is what he's saying.
Yeah, that's they all freak out in the video. I love it. It's classic. I mean, what's even funnier to me is that before it happens, they're calculating the percentage of if they're going to be able to succeed or not, and they have a actual figure, like a number percentage with a repeating number. It's like 23.33 repeating, of course.
Yes,
like,
of course.
of course, percentage that they're going to succeed. How do they even calculate that? But Leeroy does not care. And that moves us into his basic abilities. I'll talk about my first basic ability. I'm calling it Flailing Swing because I figure he's kind of a haphazard dude. When this ability is activated, Leeroy swings his two-handed sword forward, sweeping in front of him and hopefully landing a blow on an enemy. This ability is actually going to act as Leeroy's basic attack, but it works a little different than a normal basic. The player can hold down the Q, or the first ability button, to make Leeroy continue swinging the blade forward over and over and over again. The ability doesn't use mana, but it's similar to Tracer's auto attack, and he will need to rest after 10 swings. After he rests a short period of time, he is then able to start swinging again. Leeroy is able to be moving the entire time as he's swinging the blade, dancing around the enemy all the while swinging forward. The same feeling as like a whirlwind from Sonya.
Okay, so how much control would you have over the swing? Because I'm envisioning his sword is so heavy that gravity's kind of pulling him in whatever direction he's swinging.
He's swinging. You can control it. Like, if you figure, I'm picturing it kind of like a Tychus attack. You know how Tychus you can still move him and he's still attacking at the same time? That's the same thing, but it's melee. So it's different. So you have to be moving forward in order to kind of be swinging. Not as hard as like a skeletal swing from Leoric, but you can get in there and just like shing, shing, just kind of sweeping forward as you're attacking, which comes into play in the juggler aspect of it because you can be, dancing around these merc camps as you're taking them.
Yeah, that's true. And could it be too that then the mercs wouldn't be able to target him?
You know, I don't know. Or you would be able to move in and out of being targeted by more than one. They would have to move around. Maybe that would help you if someone else was trying to take the camp with you. It was just kind of a cool idea I had because, you know, these auto attack heroes, or these assassins, I should say, that have these abilities where they're moving while they're attacking hasn't really been done in a melee, has it? I mean, you could be moving and you can take swings at people as you're moving, but this I can see as a constant, like, swinging attack as you're moving, as long as you're holding down that button.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think melees have auto attack while move. I think Tracer was the first one to introduce that idea.
Yeah, something different. What were you thinking for his Q?
Well, Q again, we're gonna go with the Scream Leeroy Jenkins. Now, this would be a passive. As a passive, Leeroy runs around screaming his name and other battle cries. This shout can be heard globally and either decreases or increases in volume dependent on his distance from you. The closer this shout is to friendly teammates, the faster their attack speed.
Oh, so everybody's getting in there and they're attacking, try to save Leeroy. They're getting in there with the lore, right?
Exactly. I wanted an ability that kind of encompassed the insanity that unfolded after Leeroy runs in, and then we're following the other paladin through the whelplings.
Yeah. It's a mess, right? But everybody's feverishly attacking. So I love that ability because it embodies that whole thought. And they are feverishly attacking, especially if his troll trait goes off. Everybody's going to die. So they really care about Leeroy.
It's the sense of desperation.
Which is perfect, right?
Yeah, I would certainly want that. I mean, I would have a lot of fun on this hero.
That'd be a blast. Tough so far, but a blast. I think some good troll things are coming. Well, speaking of, what do you think his W, or second basic ability, would be?
W, let's do this. And again, it's a passive. Leeroy aggroes everything he runs by, from untaken mercenary camps to lane minions. Everything wants to kill Leeroy. So when he aggroes them, they then permanently follow him around the map until they're killed.
Well, there's a strat to that.
There is.
That's really cool. So they leave their camp. Okay, here's a couple questions. So they leave their camp and they're following Leeroy around. Let's say that they're taken out, but they're not obviously back at their camp location. Is that where the capture point still exists, is on their camp location?
Yes. So I would imagine, like you were saying, if two ogres are chasing him, they die, the original camp they were pulled from now can be grabbed.
At that place. Not the place they died, but where they came from.
Correct. Where they came from.
Oh, that's really cool. I love it because I love those moments in, let's say, Dragonshire, when you can see on your minimap someone's going to collect that top shrine. Someone's already on the bottom shrine and they're on their way, to the dragon. I love those moments when it happens, when you land it, so you can say, I'm taking out these trolls in the bottom lane. Somebody get up there and get ready to cap that point so we can get, super cool. That's neat. So there's no limit to it. He could technically pick them all up.
All of them.
And then if he dies, everyone dies.
Oh, the team would die. So I guess if he dies, everything would return back to their original place.
Yeah, maybe it would kind of teleport.
That's a good idea. Yeah, so then you wouldn't have this dispersal. But maybe we want the dispersal. Maybe that's part of how you play this hero. So if you know you're going to die, you at least want an army to explode out of where Leeroy was.
Oh, maybe. And maybe they start latching onto other people or something. You could talent into that or something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Great idea. My W is a little more plain than that. It's called Charge. Leeroy does just that when this ability is activated. He drops his shoulder forward and charges toward the enemy, dealing damage and stunning them. This ability does bonus damage to merc camps and can be spec'd into to deal extra damage to enemy heroes.
I love this build so far because this is the Leeroy that's in your face screaming the whole time. Yeah. And he may not be the best player. He may not be rank 1 material, but gosh darn it, he's in your face insulting the clothes you're wearing, and he keeps slapping your face and going, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? I can melee while I move.
Yeah, or like, I'm gonna be safe. I go through my little tower. Leeroy's just gonna sacrifice himself, and he's gonna shoulder charge straight in there and take you out, and then die himself. So that was my thought with charge. Also, the jungler aspect of here, kind of building it in when I'm talking about being able to stun and do extra damage to merc camps. I also wanted that feverish kind of feel when you're on the battlefield and you walk by Leeroy trying to take a merc camp. He's going 110%. He's swinging his sword. He's flailing it around. He's charging into those merc camps and trying to take them out. So that was my thought on that.
Yeah, I like it. And I feel that Leeroy, of all heroes, would always be at 110%.
Yeah, it definitely. Maybe 120%, 130%.
Oh.
Cool. Let's get into third basic abilities. Mine's called Want Some Chicken. In my build, Leeroy, he'll have a built-in bribe mechanic called Want Some Chicken. We all know that Leeroy loves chicken, but in the Nexus, he doesn't mind sharing for a price. Leeroy is able to gain stacks of chicken to bribe mercenaries with every 20 enemy minions he destroys. He can store up to 3 stacks of chicken that can be held to bribe mercenaries to fight for the team. Leeroy also gains an additional stack when he fills the bar and captures a merc camp.
Oh, no way. So an additional stack, so 4 stacks.
Well, he'll have no, he can hold a maximum of 3.
Okay.
But if he uses those 3 stacks to bribe the knights, 4 of them, he's going to bribe 3 and kill 1, and then when the bar fills, he gets a stack.
That's awesome. That's such a great idea. I don't know why they haven't actually added that to capping the merc camps yet.
Well, bribe in the game is really fun. You have to take it in specific times and specific, team comps if it works for you. So Leeroy in my build would be someone that you wouldn't always want to take. You don't always want to be focusing on mercenary camps in some of the maps in the game, and I'm sure that will be the same for some of the maps that they're coming out with in the future. So it's a situational hero again, which is cool when we get 200 heroes to choose from. Leeroy might be a good choice someday. But the fact that he can hold 3 stacks, because I believe only if you take bribe, you can only hold 2.
Correct. I know with Murky, that's true.
Yeah. So maybe a little extra jungling power there, and it comes on your basic abilities. So you have to activate it pressing E to bribe these merc camps with chicken.
And which is great, too, because it forces you to lane.
Yeah. You got to lane in order to jungle. Which in my mind is kind of the same sort of thing in Heroes, where you have to, kill those NPCs out on the field, where in other MOBAs, from my understanding, when you're laning, you're in the lane. You're dedicated to getting those last hits in the lane. But with Heroes, you're all over the map, top to bottom the entire time. So enough about my third. What was your third basic?
My third basic, another passive, we're going with something called Not My Fault. Now, as a passive, when Leeroy runs close to another enemy hero, the aggroed minions and mercs that he has following him around now target that enemy hero. This aggro mark can be passed to another enemy hero if the original enemy hero gets too close.
Oh, very neat.
So it's kind of like a curse that you can give to the enemy team. And once you give it to the enemy team, they can't hand it back. However, they can share it amongst themselves.
Willingly, hopefully. Hopefully
you would hope so. You'd hope if the healer gets it, he gives it to the tank.
Okay, so when you share it, it's not an infection, or is it? Does it spread, or does it just transfer?
It just transfers.
Okay. I love that. So pulling all the aggro.
So pretty soon, depending on how slow the minions and the mercs are, and they're pretty slow. You'd get hit with it, and then 5 minutes later, all of a sudden this army, and you're going, oh my gosh, no.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So maybe for your other ability, we don't want them to just teleport out, because then they would all get aggroed on that person, right?
That's a good point. Yeah, and it could be too that if the mark is already on an enemy hero, that if Leeroy dies, they don't disperse because they still have a target.
Oh, okay. Well, that's where the nuances come in there. I like that. Very cool. Some awesome basic abilities, awesome traits. Kristen, all of yours are passive.
Well, I wanted a troll hero. And I thought, what's more trolly than a dude that has all passives? He literally doesn't have to activate anything. He literally runs around the map, causing as much chaos as possible. This is murky times 1,000.
That's great, though. I mean, that's something that doesn't exist. Oh, man. And think about all the people that would pick that hero because it didn't have anything, new players. So try out Leeroy. Talk about trolling around and all this stuff. It's great.
Exactly. And if you don't do well, your team is going to suffer.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, man. Woo! Well, before we get into even more awesome heroic abilities, I really want to shout out to all of our community out there for giving us a rating on iTunes. It really helps the show grow. So thank you everyone that's gone over there. And if you haven't done that yet and you love the show, head on over to iTunes, drop us a 5-star review. Make sure you leave your name and a note in there so we can give you a shout out on the show. Also, if you'd like to support the show, we do have our own Patreon site over at patreon.com/HeroesForge. Over there, you can see all of our amazing Patreon goals. We want to be forging battlegrounds for you guys. We want to be coming up with a whole bunch of new content, and to make that possible, it's over on patreon.com/HeroesForge. And with that said, let's get into the best part of the show, forging the heroics.
Heroic.
I cannot wait to hear your heroics, Kristen, so I want to hear yours first. What is your first heroic for Leeroy?
Okay, first heroic again. I bet you can guess now, passive. It's not my fault. The enemy hero that has the threat. All right, so as we talked about in the E, where, I guess I named them both the same. So not my fault. This one is it's not my fault. Very, 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 very different. So the enemy hero that's been marked, that now has the swarm of aggroed everything.
Right.
That has threat, must chase after Leeroy for a set amount of time. If they do not chase after him, they are immediately rooted in position until they receive at least a certain number of hits from the group of aggroed units once they've caught up.
Oh, man. This is trolly. I love it. Okay, so I have a few questions, of course. Some awesome questions. So is there going to be like a set path that they have to stay within in order to not gain this stun?
I'm thinking it wouldn't be a set path because I think a set path would be a bit too challenging. But I imagine they would have to continue in the general direction that Leeroy heads in. Because Leeroy's running all the time, so he's going to outpace them, no doubt.
Right.
But the game could still compute if they're going in a similar direction as Leeroy.
Very cool.
Or maybe when this happens, they're chained together, and now the enemy hero has to run at mounted speed, or something like that.
Oh, the chaos that will ensue. It's so great. And this is like a high skill cap idea where you have to use this when you know that the enemy team has a bunch of aggro, right?
Correct. And you'd want to make sure you use it too on an enemy hero who's isolated. Right.
Oh, because I'm sure that they would get kicked really quick if they had a bunch of people on them and they had to run towards the towers or wherever Leeroy was going. Very cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could see how they could implement an idea like that with a bunch of different heroes in the game. Forcing people to go a certain direction. We've never talked about that before.
Yeah, we've done the general fear where they go in a direction, or you've had the random generation.
Yeah. Moving in a random direction, but never forcing someone to choose to go to a direction or take a penalty, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we have Sylvanas' mind control, but you don't force them to choose. You force them to move in a direction that you want them to. But yeah, you're right.
So cool. I can see that's a great idea. A great idea. My first heroic is called Pals for Life. The very name of the guild that Leeroy was a part of. Pals for Life will automatically take a mercenary camp and replenish them to full health. Leeroy must be in range of the camp at least one of its members of the camp, and one has to be alive, gaining the ultimate push for a friendly mercenary camp.
Wait. Oh, okay, so you grab a merc camp and then you can immediately get them to spawn again?
Yeah. So like you grab the camp and you're fighting with them, or the team is fighting with them. Leeroy runs on up, and if there's at least one member of the camp that's still alive, has health, he can basically res them all and reset the camp and keep going.
That's awesome. So would he res them where they fell, or would he have to go back to the camp they originated from?
Where they fell.
Oh, gotcha. So he's basically resing the same group.
Yeah, so he's coming in basically just like, we're not done yet. When they all just come back up and keep fighting. But if one of them is not alive, like let's say it's the Knights or whatever, and four of them are down, that doesn't count. One has to be up still. It doesn't work on bosses, obviously, because there's only one of them. But it would work on a bunch. I mean, I could see how this wouldn't be so great with, what is it, the shaman or the wizard that's able to summon the dogs on the Diablo maps. That probably wouldn't work so well because, they're already summoning those, but it's the same kind of feel.
Exactly, and it would work pretty well. You just need to be really on top of that timing. And then the enemy team would probably need to make sure the dogs were dead so that Leeroy wouldn't then get max value by resing the shaman.
Right. Yeah, so some cool idea to try to get more merc camp play in there.
That would be amazing. I would do that all the time.
Well, that's a trolley move too, right? Like just before they complete the camp, you run in there and just Leeroy, and bam, all these guys are
the
back.
melee attacks, and then you start slapping them in the face. No, Leeroy, no.
Oh, now that I'm thinking about it, my second heroic is a little trolley too. It's called Chicken Delivery. When this ability is selected, Leeroy now has the ability to bribe camps before they are taken. So this makes sense in a second, I think. He can use his stacks to bribe a camp, and whether the camp is collected or not, no matter the team that collects it. That doesn't make sense. It'll be on the side of the Leeroy player. He will have to use enough stacks to bribe all the members of the camp. When a friendly player tries to cap the camp, they will auto-collect for the friendly team. When an enemy team caps the camp, they will need to fight the camp twice. Once to cap it the original time, not knowing that they have been bribed already, and another time to cap it once it's captured. The capture bar will just auto-fill to the friendly team's color once it's captured. So that was a whole bunch of combobulated stuff, but really what I'm thinking is Leeroy can walk up to a camp, he can use this heroic ability which deducts all of his stacks of bribe, chicken, we called it, and it bribes the camp, but they stay in place until they are attacked. So if they're attacked by the friendly team, they become friendly mercenaries instantly. If they're attacked by the enemy team doesn't know that they're bribed, and they keep fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. Once the enemy team has completed capturing the camp, it just automatically fills for the friendly team, and then they have to kill it again.
That is genius. That is, I mean, if I'm going to take words from Avatar: The Last Airbender, that is mad genius. Oh my goodness. Could you imagine how much fun you would have, especially on bigger maps like Cursed Hollow or Sky Temple or, Battlefield of Eternity. They wouldn't even know. You'd get the camps closest to their base and just watch.
Well, yeah, imagine if your team was down, and the first thing we always go to do is, start capping camps because we can't get into a team fight now. So instead of going and, you can use all your stacks of bribe to have the other enemy team capture a camp for you and tie them up at the same time.
And it would be so frustrating because it would put you behind in your schedule. In your mental schedule, you only got to take them down once. But with this, you got to take them down twice. And what if the Immortal's popping and you've only got, 10 seconds?
Yeah, it would be an interesting idea. It's hard to put into words. That's why when I was typing it out or thinking about it, I was thinking this is really odd, but when I say it, I think it might work. It might not be heroic enough, for a heroic ability. Maybe it's something you spec into as an extra ability. Maybe it is heroic enough. I don't know. It would have to be put into the game, I think, to find out. But speaking of, let's hear your second heroic, Kristen.
All right, second one, we're going back to the chicken. At least I have chicken. And again, this is passive. Eggs. Eggs everywhere, all across the map. Dragon eggs spawn. If they're touched, a dragon whelpling releases and immediately starts attacking the hero or unit responsible for touching the egg. There are bonuses for the number of total eggs touched throughout the lifespan of this heroic. 50% or more, one dragon spawns and it pushes a random lane. 75% or more, two dragon spawn, each pushing a different lane. And 100% of the eggs opened or touched, Pyroguard Emberseer enters the field of battle and pushes a lane, acting as a boss.
Oh, wow, that is heroic. That is
so
cool.
Clearly the 100% would be really, really hard to achieve.
Right, because that's a free boss, basically.
Exactly. And I can't see any of the eggs spawning behind enemy lines or even behind friendly lines.
Wow. Oh, I don't even know what to say. That's such a cool idea. It's such a different thing. It basically adds a whole nother map objective.
It does. And I mean, Leeroy's running around all the time anyway, so it would be so much fun. I thought, you're running around. What could you do while you're running around? That would be heroic. Touch eggs.
Try to touch eggs. Oh, yeah. And can you imagine how happy your team would be if you got the boss to pop on that and to come out, and then the second you die, everyone dies?
But you got the boss pushing.
You got the boss pushing. Wow, that's such a great... And yeah, just the visual of that. So all the eggs are just coming up from the ground, right?
Correct.
Super cool. I love it. Wow, some great heroics here for that. That one's definitely trolly too, because people are running around trying not to open these eggs. Some people are trying to open the eggs.
Yeah, and the caveat is if the enemy team touches even one egg, you don't get the 100%, right?
Right.
So so I'd try so they wouldn't be all over, but it'd be enough.
That's a really cool idea. All right, let's get into... Those were awesome heroics. Let's get into the specialty skins. This is where we talk about if the character had a crazy specialty skin in the game, what would it be? Mine, because there's so much chicken in my build, because Leeroy, at least he's got chicken. I figured that his specialty skin would be the Hamburglar Leeroy. So we're switching from chicken to hamburgers over here. And why does it always have to be chicken? Complete with the mask and a hat, this Leeroy will give out Happy Meals instead of chicken. He's loving it. Dumb. Just dumb.
Oh, that's amazing. But would he do his little creepy hand?
Complete with custom animations and custom voice lines. This Hamburglar Leeroy, which might mess with his silhouette a little bit, because one of the most distinct features of the Hamburglar is the hat, right? So maybe that wouldn't work out so well.
Well, maybe you could make his shoulders look like little hats.
Oh yeah, something like that, because they couldn't make it exactly like the Hamburglar, obviously.
I don't think they'd ever be able to afford leasing the rights to that. But you could do hats for shoulder pads.
Yeah, or some sort of... You could wear a mask for sure.
Mm-hmm. It's a Zorro mask.
Yeah. What were you thinking for his specialty skin?
I'm going with Speedy Jenkins. He's the fastest troll in all heroes. Complete with a wide-brimmed hat, loose-fitting white clothes, and red neckerchief. Speedy Jenkins is a skin that's more about action than aesthetic. Those with it now jump up and click their heels together before speeding off. In addition, kind of like your mount, his run now generates clouds of dust in his wake.
So great. So this is not going to change the size of Leeroy, right? He's not going to become small.
No, not at all. It's more about how he moves and all of the little special effects that are added onto it. Kind of like Asmodunk.
That's really cool. And it'd have to have a soundtrack, right? I mean, when he's mounted or something, it'd have to have some cool sounds and stuff.
That, or maybe the screams that are forever emanating from his voice. There's now, like you said, a little soundtrack. Maybe he sings or something.
Yeah. That's great. Oh, and with, what is it, Speedy Gon Jenkins?
Yes.
And with that, I think we can definitely say that this hero was forged.
Hero Forged.
Wow, this one was a lot of fun. It's great to take characters that are crazy in the Warcraft or in any of the Blizzard universes and bring them to life for the Nexus because, games like Heroes of the Storm and Hearthstone, sometimes they don't take themselves too seriously, and that's half the fun. That's why we're bringing Leeroy in on the show. So 2 awesome builds, both specialists, mine focusing a little bit more on merc camps with being able to attack while moving, rushing through the gates at the beginning of the battle, having a flailing swing that's just going back and forth, charging forward and bribing mercenary camps. Kristen's specialist build has a bunch of really awesome off-the-wall crazy ideas that are all passive, which are the perfect troll build. Being able to have the team have to protect you because if you die, they're all gone. Not being able to mount, having a passive where you're just battle crying. That speaks Leeroy Jenkins like crazy. That's exactly where his place is in the pop culture of Warcraft. Being able to just aggro things that are running around, feeling just like the YouTube video, and then having those awesome heroic abilities, being able to just have eggs pop up all over the battlefield and, kind of changing the tide of battle when it comes to adding a new map objective in a way. I mean, there's just so much cool about this build, Kristen.
Well, thank you very much. However, I don't think we should really disregard the love and care you've put on Chicken. That whole thing is going to keep me giggling for the rest of the week. The fact that he bribes mercenaries, not with coin. No, but with chicken. Now, what kind of chicken, though? Is it deep fried chicken? Is it southern fried chicken?
I think the video says, and Leeroy has even said himself, that it is KFC.
Well, there we go. Does it come with biscuits?
I'm sure. Yes.
Okay. Just need to clear this up because I need to understand what the mercenaries are working for here.
Oh, yeah. They're working for the full, it's like the $4 box,
wow.
Or the $5 box meal. I mean, how else would you be able to be bribed if you're a big, troll up there and you need the $5 box meal? Oh, we are totally off topic. But with that, I am definitely going to say thank you for everyone to listening to the show. You can check out our website for more episodes of Heroes Forge. It's heroesforge.club. Over there, we have 19 other episodes that we've done. Characters from Diablo, the Warcraft universe, StarCraft, Overwatch. We've done some really cool characters over there, so check out our website. Again, we stream every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on Amove.tv. It's twitch.tv/Amove TV is the Twitch channel that we stream on, and you can also find us on Amove.tv, which is part of the podcast and esports entertainment network that we're part of. Over there, they've got some really great shows that you should all check out and listen to. They have inspired this show to exist. Make sure that you follow us on Twitter at Forge Heroes. Over there is where we announce at the end of the week who we're going to be forging on Sunday, so you get a little sneak peek into that. Also, make sure you check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/HeroesForge, for all of the videos of all of our live recordings. And make sure you download the show on your favorite podcasting app and on iTunes. Don't forget to shoot us a rating if you love the show. If you'd like to support the show, again, it's patreon.com/HeroesForge. And Kristen, where can people find you in the interwebs?
On the interwebs, people can find me at Dream Destroyer, DRMDESTRYR, over at Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and now Patreon, actually.
Oh, great. Very cool. And your blog?
Yes, sorry, pardon me. And my blog, which has also undergone a change, so we can encompass more than just the BlizzCon feeling. So instead of Ripped for BlizzCon, it is now battletobebetter.weebly.com. Still the same stuff, still the same theme and all that, just new name.
Yeah, that's great. I really like that name, Battle to Be Better. It's that alliteration in action. It just has such a powerful name. Great choice.
Thank you very much.
It's very cool. Yeah, everybody head over there to check out all of the health and fitness stuff that Kristen does. It's really great and also inspiring. So I think with that being said, I think we've definitely forged Leeroy Jenkins. Let us know your ideas, and if you'd like to be featured in the Featured Forger Spotlight, where we take your build, make sure you send us all of your ideas. Contact HeroesForge@gmail.com. We have a bunch of different builds in there, and we want yours too. Let us know what you think, and thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you all in the real world.